Next thing that I'm looking at is I'm looking at services that I can use to compose together that give me horizontal scalability and increased availability. So this is going to be around using app services, right? So I can create an app service plan that has at least 2 instances that I can spin up to 5 or 10 based on some conditions. Logic apps, mobile apps, and API apps all fall under this. Takes me a little bit more time to set them up. There's a little bit more commitment involved with it. I think the basic standard or recommended app service plan starts at $24 a month. And it can be a shared plan across multiple applications if you want it to be. But I'm making a monetary commitment of having these services available for me, so there's a trade-off there. And it takes a lot more configuration on my time, which means I've got to be more familiar with it. I've got to be more in control. I've got to know more of what's going on there before I can kind of let things go out into the wild. But all of these services will give you some sort of scalability, elastic scalability with pretty much 0 downtime based on your configuration parameters. So you're talking the app services, SQL Server Database, SQL Data Warehouse, Redis Cache will work along those two. Azure Container Service and Traffic Manager all work together to provide that scalability. What I don't want to do, and this is again the common, and this is really if you're in the cloud, stop guessing at your capacity needs. Just stop it. Come on, architects, don't think about buying servers and ordering and how much capacity do I need, and take a guess, go make a huge commitment, and be wrong. Because if you order too much, that's money you could use somewhere else. Additional operational costs, development hours and whatnot, capital expenses over OpEx. If you don't order enough, you have a Black Friday where you lost sales. Sucks either way. So stop guessing it. Use these types of things if you can for your custom applications. So unless I have historical data, Greenfield's the hardest. I have no idea. Is this going to go viral tomorrow? Is it not going to go viral tomorrow? So again, Greenfield, I'm going serverless first because then it doesn't matter. I have virtually unlimited scalability based on its adoption. If I've got technical reasons or other reasons that say, no, you can't do that, we're going to go to some of the managed services, I'm going to start with not a basic plan, but the lowest cost standard plan. And I'm going to put some auto-scaling policies around that, right? So for instance, you've got your S0 plan, I think is the basic one for app services. I'm going to set it up with 2 instances at a bare minimum because I want some availability to be set up. And I'm going to set it up to where every time that the average CPU load on that server hits 50% for more than 5 minutes, I'm going to spin up another 2 instances. Right, and I'm going to slowly start incrementing that size. And I think with the standard S0 plan, and this is where it gets tricky, you can scale out to up to 10 instances. So then comes the other side of it. If I'm getting close to those 10 instances, what I actually need to do, and there's an auto-scaling policy for this, is scale up. Which I'm saying, okay, instead, if I can't scale out anymore, I'm going to go up a level, which means upgrade me to the next plan, which gives you more CPU power per instance. It gives you some additional RAM per instance, some additional storage. And I think as you keep going up, you also get additional scale out capabilities as well too.
So what's your methodology? Scale out first and then scale up?
I'm going to use the lowest cost plan. I'm going to scale it out as much as I can. If it's insufficient, I'm upgrading. Scale it out as much as I can, go to the next one. And because every time that I go up, my cost per instance is going up and my commitment's getting bigger, right? So but the important part is don't just think about scaling up. Remember to scale down. And so this is actually a really good example for development environments. Jim was talking about taking advantage of big corporations when their office hours are down, after hours, weekend times. Your scale down plan is just as important from a cost management perspective as your scale up plan. Meaning if that CPU and that load works, scale in and down, in and down, in and down until I'm back to that starting point at my lowest cost. Right? And the idea here is I'm not going to guess my capacity. If I've got an e-commerce site and Black Friday hits, I am not losing a customer. And management will not complain because of the revenue that's going to be coming in. But if it happens to be some other day throughout the year and our website has seen 1 customer per hour, I'm not keeping 100 servers up. No reason for me to do that. We got about 5 minutes left, and I've got about 3 more slides, so we're power through real quick. So architecture-wise, again, that's how I'm doing my component selection. That's how I'm keeping scalability in mind and where do I start. And remember, scaling down, in and down is just as important as scaling up and out. So this is going to be for hosting your web application. It's your MVC site. It's hosting your basic ASP.NET type applications. It's an IAS server, for lack of a better term, with ASP.NET on it. Logic apps are actually designed more to be back-end type services, so event-driven type services, batch processing. Think of I might have this would actually be a good one. We have our voting app, and our voting app is receiving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of votes as it's going through. If I didn't have functions, I could have probably used a logic app to listen for those queue messages coming in to process them and tally them. So it's my back-end processes that are kind of sitting out there, not web-facing. Yep, not BizTalk. It's using Flow, which is another one. So it's you could have other workflow components that kick off a logic application. And so it's doing that process management, batch process management for that particular thing. So again, I'm guessing you're coming from the AWS space. You've got, oh man, I'm gonna forget the term, not data pipeline. It's gonna be different, but they have SWF, Simple Workflow Service. Okay, the Simple Workflow Service could be pointed at a Lambda function that performs that batch operation. It could also be pointed at calling an endpoint on an EC2 instance that performs some other service. It's going to be the equivalent to that, of saying, hey, something else kicked off that logic app. But it's going to be event-driven, either by manual start of a workflow, an automated part of a workflow, data coming in somewhere that sends an event somewhere else. It could be a notification that's received. It could be processing email, a number of things that could do that, but it's your back-end processes. Mobile apps, these are going to be for hosting your Xamarin-based apps and things where you actually need a back-end. It's really just APIs for a mobile application. You've published your app on the Apple Store, on the Google Play, Android stores that are out there, and you need a back end to communicate up to and to push updates, not to the stores, but anything that would be internal to the application that can be updated. That's where you would manage it. And last but not all is the API apps, and this is really around building applications to build wrappers around other cloud services and exposing APIs to your applications as well too. So they're kind of, you can mix and match these, but they kind of have slightly different functions in the way that they work, and what you're really doing in these is you're grouping your applications into the right area where Microsoft can price and manage it for you with the typical constraints that they deal with. So for example, the logic apps probably not going to be a web-facing thing, and I never have to serve pages, right? It's going to be triggers coming in, inbound communications. So now they can optimize the infrastructure behind the scenes for those applications to provide you with that managed service. You got it. All right. Reduce operational complexity. So you've got a ton of services out there that are what would be considered advanced technologies for most IT organizations. Like I don't know too many organizations that actually have IT folks who know how to spin up a Hadoop cluster, who know how to configure HDN site. Heck, some of the analysis services that are available today in the common products can be complex for a lot of organizations that have never seen them before. So everything that we do and we think of that's out there, we've got to think about all these other services that are available to us to help accomplish a certain task, and realize that by choosing them and going cloud-wise, we're reducing our operational complexity and overhead from that perspective. So make it easy. If you've never worked, so I could go through these if you guys know what they are, but some of the things that a lot of people don't always touch. Batch processing, this is going to be for large parallel processing, MapReduce type of functions and things that are out there that you can do. We talked about document database already. Redis cache, again, it's another caching layer you can introduce. It's a key value store. It kind of goes along with the NoSQL, but it's really, really, really fast, like lightning fast. Media services is going to be for encoding and transcoding. I know Mick had some experience with media services. It's kind of fun. Search. This is, I'm trying to remember what they use behind the scenes for search. I know AWS uses Elasticsearch. Can't remember the Azure one as well too. But setting up a farm for just search services can also be a complex thing. It's available for you there. Mentioned HD Insight, machine learning, cognitive services, and then you've got the bottom three, which are really around IoT type things. If you don't know what any of these are, just know that they're available to you, and take time to go out and find out, because there's tons and tons of new advanced services that are coming out there that you can spin up and experiment with as part of your architecture and development process. Start thinking, okay, somebody asked for voice enabling my app to say when I talk to my app that I want it to be able to respond to me and to do things for me. So such as I'm driving down the road, I hit the talk button and I want it to record an expense for me. I think Expensify is now doing this, which is kind of cool.